The crisp air nipped at Cole Matthews' exposed skin as he urged his horse forward across the Montana plains. His Stetson was pulled low, shielding his eyes from the late afternoon sun. Below him, Silver Blaze ate up the miles, his powerful strides eating away at the distance separating them from the horizon. But their destination wasn't somewhere over there. It was right here, right where they stood. Earlier that day, Cole had discovered that one of his prized stallions, the magnificent Silver Blaze, was missing. Now, squinting against the sun, he could spot a small figure standing by a clump of trees near the old oak by Willow Creek. It had to be him. Anyone else would have sold the animal and run. Whoever took Silver Blaze would know that this wild Mustang was too hot to handle. So they must have brought him here to turn him loose. And if that was the case, then whoever was with him now probably hadn't meant any harm. As his horse crested the rise, he could make out the unmistakable silhouette of a female on the ground. She was trying to get the stallion to move, coaxing him with soft words and slow gestures. Even from this distance, Cole could tell she was struggling. Her shoulders were tense, her head was thrown back, and she was hanging onto the horse's lead rope with all her might. Cole eased Silver Blaze into a walk, not wanting to startle her or the horse. "Hey," he called out, his voice echoing across the vast emptiness of the prairie. The girl jumped, spinning around to face him. Her chestnut hair, the color of fallen leaves, cascaded down her back like molten copper. And when she finally met his gaze, he saw a flash of fear cross her bright green eyes before she steadied herself. He could see now that she was young, too young, probably no older than his younger sister, Cassie. Her jeans were coated with mud, and a smear of it painted a line down her cheek. She was wearing one of his dad's old Stetsons, and it couldn't hide the determined set of her jaw or the defiant tilt of her chin. "I found this horse wandering down by the creek," she said, stepping closer to the edge of the trees. "I was just trying to get him back to your pasture. I swear I didn't steal him." She held up her hands as if to emphasize her innocence. Cole raised an eyebrow. She definitely wasn't a local, which meant she'd either gotten lost or she was running from something. He could tell by the way she kept glancing over her shoulder, fear flickering in her eyes. But that didn't explain why she was wearing one of his dad's hats, or why she was trying to wrangle a horse that even he had a hard time handling. Before he could ask any more questions, though, Silver Blaze snorted, pawing at the ground. The stallion bucked, throwing the girl off balance and sending the lead rope flying through the air. It landed at Cole's feet, and he caught it without thinking. Then he started toward her, her steps slow and easy. The girl backed away, her eyes wide with alarm. Cole stopped and held out his hand. "Easy," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." Still she didn't move. He sighed, dropping his hand to his side. Her fear was palpable, and he hated the sight of it. He'd seen enough fear in his lifetime to last several lifetimes, and he knew how quickly it could turn into something ugly, something that could twist itself around your heart and squeeze until there was nothing left to give. Silver Blaze whinnied, pawing at the ground impatiently. "It's okay," Cole said, looking back at the girl. "Go on, take him back." She hesitated, glancing from the horse to Cole and back again. Finally, she nodded slowly, taking a deep breath before reaching out for the lead rope. As she did, her fingers brushed against his and sent a jolt of electricity through him. It was so unexpected that he pulled his hand back as if burned. Thanks for, saving me and all," she said awkwardly. Cole nodded. It was awkward for him, too. He didn't know what to say, but he didn't want to scare her off. He knew what it was like to be on the run. He just hoped she wasn't running from something dangerous. He decided to ride back to the ranch and let her walk Silver Blaze ahead of him. That way he could keep an eye on her. Plus, he trusted Silver Blaze to let him know if she got out of line. As they walked, he stole glances at her. She was small, barely taller than his saddle. And yet there was something about the way she carried herself that made him think twice about asking any more questions. Her name was Emily, she told him, and she was a drifter, working odd jobs on ranches in exchange for food and a place to sleep. As for why she was trying to corral a wild Mustang, well, she'd seen the horse wandering along the road and figured he belonged to someone around here. So she'd followed him. Cole nodded, studying her. Her story was as open and inviting as the Montana sky, but he could tell there was more to her than that. There always was with women. They never told you the whole truth. When they reached the old oak by Willow Creek, Cole stopped and slid off his horse. "Thanks for bringing him back," he said. "No problem," she replied, smiling shyly. But before Cole could ask any more questions, Emily hurried off down the road, leaving him with more questions than answers. That night, as the stars twinkled above the ranch, Cole sat by the fire with a mug of coffee in his hands. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something, like a piece of a puzzle that just didn't fit. He knew Emily wasn't hiding anything, but there was something in her eyes that told him otherwise. Something was bothering her, and he couldn't help but wonder if it had something to do with the reason she'd come to this part of Montana. The next morning, Cole woke up early and headed out to check on the cattle. He was halfway to the other side of the ranch when he heard the sound of a horse whinnying. He turned, and sure enough, there was Silver Blaze trotting toward him with Emily on his back. She was laughing, her hair streaming behind her like a banner in the wind. "Whoa, boy," she said, slowing him to a stop. "Don't you go running off like that, you hear?" Cole stood there watching them, his heart skipping a beat. She looked so free, so alive, and for a moment he forgot to breathe. As they approached, Cole could see that Emily was pointing out wildflowers growing along the trail. She was explaining how each one could be used for healing, for flavoring food, or even as a natural dye. Cole leaned against the fence, listening as she spoke. She was passionate, knowledgeable, and beautiful. He knew he should say something, but he was afraid that if he did, he'd scare her off. So he stayed silent, letting her lead the way back to the ranch. Once they arrived, Emily asked Cole if he wanted to see the spring she'd found yesterday. Of course, he agreed. He knew she was testing him, seeing if he'd be willing to explore this part of the country with her. He didn't realize it at the time, but it was a test he was born to pass. As they rode, Emily talked about the land, about how it was more than just dirt and rocks and trees. It was alive, breathing, and every spring, every stream, every hill was a part of its beating heart. Cole had never thought of it that way before. He'd always seen the land as something to be tamed, something to be conquered. But Emily showed him a different way of seeing it, a way that made him feel more connected to the world around him than he ever had before. By the end of the day, when the sun was setting over the horizon, Cole knew he didn't want Emily to leave. He wanted to show her more, teach her more about the land they were riding through. As they made camp that night, Cole found himself opening up to Emily in ways he never had before. He told her about the loneliness he'd felt since his father died, about the guilt he carried for not being able to save him. Emily listened patiently, and when he finished, she placed her hand on his arm, her touch sending a shiver down his spine. "You don't have to face it alone anymore," she whispered. And Cole knew she was right. Over the next few weeks, Cole and Emily explored every inch of the Montana wilderness together. They rode through fields of wildflowers, hiked to secluded waterfalls, and camped under the stars. Cole taught her how to read the signs of the land, how to track animals, and how to survive in the wild. In return, Emily taught him how to see the beauty in the everyday, how to appreciate the small things that made life worth living. One evening, as they were sitting around a campfire, Cole handed Emily a leather strap. "It's for Silver Blaze," he said, his voice husky. "And for you, if you'll stay." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She looked at Cole, her gaze intense. "I will," she whispered. Cole knew then that he'd found something precious, something worth holding on to. He'd found love in the most unexpected of places, and he knew he never wanted to let it go.